Darkness settled over the neighborhood as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that stretched across the ground like ghostly fingers. I couldn't resist the urge to venture into the woods behind our house, despite the stories circulating about the feral creature that supposedly roamed the area. It was said to be a nightmare made real, a creature with eyes that gleamed like burning coals and a snarl that chilled the bones of anyone who dared cross its path. My friends and I had talked about it countless times, sitting around campfires and exchanging gruesome tales under the moonlit sky. But tonight, I was alone, armed with nothing but a flashlight and the thrill of curiosity. The crunch of fallen leaves echoed in my ears as I stepped deeper into the woods, the chilly air sending a shiver down my spine. The trees loomed overhead, their gnarled branches forming twisted silhouettes against the night sky. I could feel the weight of the stories pressing down on me, the warning whispers of those who had come before. But my heart raced with excitement, drowning out the fear that threatened to consume me. As I walked, a distant rustling caught my attention. My grip tightened on the flashlight as I scanned the area, the beam of light cutting through the darkness. My heart thundered in my chest as I caught a glimpse of movement, something darting between the trees. It was a flash of shadow and fur, gone before I could fully register what I had seen. Swallowing hard, I continued forward, my steps growing more cautious. Every crack of a twig, every whisper of the wind, sent my imagination into a frenzy. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unseen eyes were boring into me from the depths of the woods. Then a low growl sliced through the stillness, freezing me in my tracks. My heart raced as I swung the flashlight around, its beam revealing a pair of fiery eyes gleaming in the darkness. I could barely make out the outline of a creature, hunched and tense, its fur bristling as it stared back at me. Fear and fascination waged war within me. My instincts screamed at me to run, to flee from the danger that lurked before me. But I couldn't tear my gaze away from those eyes, the intensity of their gaze holding me captive. In that moment, I realized the true horror of the situation. The stories had been more than just tales to frighten children. They were warnings, cautions against venturing into the domain of a creature that had become something of nightmares. And now I stood on the precipice of its territory, my curiosity having led me straight into its path. The creature's growl deepened, reverberating through the stillness of the night. Its eyes never left mine, its predatory gaze unrelenting. My heart pounded in my chest and a cold sweat coated my skin, the reality of the situation sinking in with each passing second. I took a slow step back, my flashlight trembling in my grip. The creature's muscles tensed as if it were preparing to pounce, a living embodiment of the stories that had haunted my thoughts for so long. Panic clawed at the edges of my mind, urging me to turn and flee, but my legs felt like lead, unable to carry me away from the danger. As I tried to inch backward, a twig snapped loudly under my foot, the sound echoing through the woods like a gunshot. The creature's lips peeled back in a snarl, revealing gleaming, sharp teeth that glinted in the dim light. My pulse raced, and adrenaline surged through my veins as I made a split-second decision. I turned and bolted, my fear-fueled speed propelling me through the trees. Behind me, I could hear the creature's heavy footfalls, the sound of it giving chase. Its growls and snarls reverberated through the night, a chilling symphony of terror that pushed me to run faster than I thought possible. The trees blurred together as I sprinted, driven by sheer survival instinct. My lungs burned and the cold air seared my throat with each breath. I could feel the creature's presence behind me, its hot breath on my heels, its menacing form a specter in the darkness. Panic threatened to overwhelm me, but I focused on the edge of the woods, the promise of safety and the comforting glow of the neighborhood lights beyond. With a burst of adrenaline-fueled energy, I burst through the tree line and into the familiar streets of my neighborhood. The creature's pursuit seemed to falter as it reached the border between woods and civilization. I didn't stop running until I was safely in front of my own house, my chest heaving and my body trembling from the adrenaline rush. I collapsed onto the front steps, gasping for breath as I looked back towards the woods. The creature was nowhere to be seen, but its presence lingered like a nightmare that refused to fade. My curiosity had led me to the brink of danger, and I had narrowly escaped with my life. From that day on, the stories of the feral creature held a new weight in my mind. The horror I had encountered in those woods was no longer a distant tale. It was a reality I had faced head-on. And though I had gained a story of my own to share with my friends, I also carried with me the knowledge that some monsters were more than just stories. They were the stuff of nightmares that walked among us. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for more stories. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me create more great content for you. Until next time.